workshop is called 3 Creative Ways to Play Cello with More Creativity so you can make faster progress. One of those ways is to make sure that you're feeling really relaxed and comfortable in your body before you play the cello. So we're going to do a few exercises in our chair and with our cello so that we can feel really grounded and really comfortable with the cello. So what I'd like you to do, if you guys can take a seat on your chair, and we're just going to take our arms and we're going to just bring them up overhead like this. We're stretching out our arms. When we play the cello, we need lots of arm length, right? So we're going to stretch out our arms. Take a nice deep breath through your nose. And then you're going to gently let your arms fall to your sides and let that breath out. And then we're going to do this one more time. And when we come up this time, we're going to place our palms together and squeeze them at the top. So we're going to bring the arms up, bring your palms together. We're going to squeeze them nice and tight. Take a deep breath in through your nose. And then we're going to exhale and just let those arms fall to the side. And this time you're going to let your neck fall down towards your chest. Just feeling that stretch. And then as you're sitting on your chair, we're going to gently move our arms back and forth. And as you're doing this, I want you to notice how your body moves. So notice how your body is just kind of moving freely. We don't want to be stuck in our chair, so we just let the body move. Very nice, with palms forward. And then we're going to turn around and we're going to go the other way. So palms back. What we're doing is we're just gently working and warming up the body so that when we play the cello, we don't feel stiff and stuck. Very nice. Now we're going to do some swimming action. So you're going to take your right arm and we're just going to gently swim forward like you're doing front crawl with your right arm. While we're doing this, I just want you to notice how your arm feels. If there's any points of resistance, just let them be. Nice and gentle, breathing in through your nose. And back crawl. While we're doing this, you can let your neck fall to the side to create a nice stretch. Beautiful. And then we're going to do the other side. So we're going to front crawl the left arm. Excellent. Breathing deeply. And then we're going to back crawl. And let your head fall to the right. Very nice. Now we're just going to sit here, and what we're going to do is we're going to open up our hips just a little bit, because when we're playing the cello, you might have noticed if you're sitting for a long period of time, you can get kind of stuck in your chair. And you start to feel a little bit stiff and sore in your back. So one way that we can help ourselves to feel a little bit stronger, a little bit more flexible, is to just gently stretch out our hips before we play. So we're going to take our right leg and you're going to place it over your right knee as is comfortable. If this feels uncomfortable at all, you can have the leg a little bit lower. But if that's comfortable, you're going to bring up the leg onto your knee and you'll feel a little bit of stretch in your thigh. And then we're going to hang over our body and hang over your chair. And we're just going to wait here for a minute and take a nice deep breath through your nose, letting all the tension out and release. One more time, breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. And then you're going to come up to sitting and we're going to change sides. So very gently bringing the left leg up over your knee. And you're just going to hang over your body. And we're going to take a nice deep breath in through your nose, out through your mouth, in through your nose, and out through your mouth. Excellent. Then we're going to come back up to sitting. One of the things that happens a lot when we're playing the cello is that we twist our body, right? When we bring our right arm over, often our back and our upper back and our lower back twist around. So we want to make sure before we play that we are warmed up with this action so we don't create injury in our back. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a little bit of gentle twisting on our chair. So you're just going to take your arms and you're going to gently twist side to side Noticing if you feel any tension in your upper lower back. You can gradually make this a deeper motion. And then what we're going to try to do is twist over to the left side, and if you can grab the back of your chair. Just go as far as is comfortable, and then you're going to look over your left shoulder and take a nice deep breath here. Very nice. And then back to center slowly, and then we're going to twist over to the other side. Take the back of your chair, look over your right shoulder, and take a nice deep breath here. And back to center. Excellent. Okay, so what I'd like you two to do, if you can pick up your cellos, we're going to try a few things. Yeah, go ahead. Take your time. I will wait. No rush. Beautiful. Heather, are you able to bring your laptop camera down a little bit so we can see you a little bit more? If not, that's okay. There you go. Beautiful. Excellent. Thank you. Okay, so in order to feel comfortable with our body, one of the concepts that's really important is to feel like the cello is part of you. So I call this the cello belly. So the idea is that this cello is not your adversary, it's part of you. So we're going to do a few movements to feel like this is actually part of our bodies. So the first thing I want you to do is we're going to take our arms and we're going to just hug them around the cello like this. And we're going to sway back and forth from one side to the next. So you can let the weight come totally off one leg, then the other. So we're getting our legs warmed up. Come up onto your dancer toes. I don't know if either of you are ballet dancers. Kind of feel like a dancer. Lovely, very nice. And then we're just gonna let the arms hang. And I want you to notice when you're sitting, I want you to feel an open chest and just bring your chin up a little bit. So one of the things that happens a lot when we're playing cello is that we have a tendency to kind of curl in on ourselves. So as we're playing, you might have music in front of you and the body kind of gets closed up, and we spend a lot of time with our chin down because we're looking at our bow. So as we're doing our session today, I want you just to feel aware of opening the chest, and I'll remind you a few times, but we want to open the chest and keep the chin up so that this area of your body, no matter how we're playing, we're feeling nice and open, because this is where your strength is going to come from. And we don't want to get ourselves kind of in a tight little ball, right? So we're going to keep this nice and open. So I'd like you to pick up your bows, and we're going to do something that is going to help us to make really beautiful, clear sound, and is also really great for improving our sense of musical expression and tone. So tone is one of the first things that cellists or people notice when you're playing, right? Is the beautiful sound of the cello. It's usually one of the reasons that people start playing cello is that they love the sound. Actually, I'm kind of curious about you two and why you started playing the cello. Heather, can you let us know why you started playing the cello? What is it that attracts you to it?
Well, I think as a child,
yeah.
Never even knew about a cello as a child, but I wanted to play the violin. My parents would not let me play the violin because they didn't want to listen to someone learning to play the violin.
It's you need a lot of patience for that, for sure.
I got some beat up piano to play on, which was great.
Yeah.
As I got older, I thought, no, I really want to play a stringed instrument.
Yes.
And I thought, no, I really like the sound of the cello much better than the violin.
Right.
And then one year for Christmas, my husband got me a student level cello, and
the rest is history. Beautiful. Is there a certain type of music that you like to play with the cello, or is it kind of all over the place?
I kind of like a little bit of everything. I like a lot of fiddle tunes, but I like the classical stuff as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
It's such a versatile instrument, right? You can play like all kinds of things. You know, the program that I teach, we do all sorts of stuff, classical, folk, pop, jazz, just because it's so versatile that you can do all
yeah,
those things. So it's really nice. Yeah. And Xanthi, what made you start the cello?
Well, I learned piano as a child, and
Yeah.
at school, I just always loved the cello and wanted to play it, but we didn't really, couldn't really afford one, and
Yeah.
the long story. Eventually, I kind of, got a lot old.
And we're able to get your own cello.
One in a junk shop for £40.
Oh,
So,
wow. That's
and
amazing.
that was my first cello, and now I've upgraded
Yeah.
now. So,
That's awesome.
yeah,
I'm very excited you're able to pursue your dream eventually.
yeah.
That's great. Yeah, okay, so what we're going to do. This is called long bow meditation. And it comes from, so when I was in university, I was studying cello, classical cello at the University of Toronto. And at the same time, I started taking yoga classes kind of for the first time in my life. And I sort of discovered while I was taking yoga classes, we learned about breathing exercises and ways to calm your body down and to calm your nervous system down. And I thought to myself, what if I put these two kind of disciplines together? Maybe this would help me to improve my sound on the cello, help me to be able to play with more endurance. And I discovered kind of a really amazing way that you can tap into the sound of the cello and make it really effortless. So I sort of developed this thing called long bow meditation. And what it is you take the breathing exercises that you would learn in a yoga class and you put them together with creating sound on the cello. And it's one of my favorite ways to warm up when I'm starting to play. And for those of you like Xanthi, if you've had an injury and you're kind of getting back into things, this is a really nice, gentle way to just kind of get back into your cello and get back into the beauty of the sound. So what we're going to do, we're going to take our bows and you're going to put your bow on the D string right at the frog. And I want you just to take a moment here with your bow at the frog, hopefully in middle lane, that's halfway between your fingerboard and the bridge. And we're just gonna take a moment to settle, to take a nice deep breath and let your bow just settle onto the string. And I want you to be aware of how everything in your body, from your fingers up to your shoulder, in through your neck, how all of that is feeling. We wanna feel really comfortable and relaxed. You wanna be holding the bow just enough that you're not going to drop it, but no tighter than that, okay? And then what we're going to do next is we're going to take 4 deep breaths for a count of 4, in through the nose, like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you're going to exhale and play a long whole bow like this. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. And what I'm hoping you'll feel when you do this is this deep sense of relaxation when you play your down bow. And if you can get in touch with that sense of relaxation, it really helps to get this beautiful buttery tone that's really effortless. So let's try that together. So you're going to put your bow on the D string at the frog. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Beautiful. And the idea is to get all the way to the end of your bow within 4 beats, just like that. We're going to try that one more time. So we're going to sit on the D string at the frog. Inhale for 4. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Very nice. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put the exhale together with an inhale, and we're going to create a continuous flow. So in yoga, we call this square breathing. So how square breathing works is that you inhale for 4, you hold for 4, you exhale for 4, and then you hold for 4. And this creates a really nice sense of rhythmic relaxation in your body, and it works so well with the sound of your cello to create a sense of ease and this beautiful sound. So I'll just demonstrate what it looks like, and then we'll try it together. So we would inhale, 2, 3, 4, exhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. So we're creating a sense of rhythmic breathing, and that's the purpose of this exercise, is to create a sense of oneness between your breath and the sound that you're making on your cello. This is going to really help you to open up your expressiveness and your creativity and just to feel more comfortable. So let's try this again together on the D string. So we're going to put our bows on the D string middle lane. Take a nice deep breath. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Beautiful. So you should really feel yourself filling full of air and then relaxing on the exhale. Now there's a lot of creative variations we can do on this. That's just the basic exercise. One thing I love this exercise for is for playing on all 4 strings and getting a sense of the type of weight that you need, the weight and speed that you need on each string to get your most optimum beautiful sound. Because I'm sure both of you have played for a few years, you're aware that each string needs its own weight and its own balance. And when you can get in touch with that with your breathing, it really helps you to be able to tap into that beautiful sound without straining. So what we're going to do next is we're going to play all 4 strings, and we're going to do an inhale and inhale exhale pattern as we cross the string. So I'll just give you a little demonstration. So I start on the C string, and I'm going to inhale 2, 3, 4, exhale 2, 3, 4. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. So you might have noticed when I'm doing that, I'm also allowing my body to move at the same time. Cello is very related, in my opinion, to things like dance. So if you can get in touch with the movement of your body at the same time as the music that you're hearing, you're going to have really expressive, beautiful playing. And as well, you're going to have more endurance. Because some of those exercises we did where we're getting in touch with our hips, if you can keep yourself in continuous motion while you play the cello, you're much more likely to be able to play for a longer period of time than if you're just stuck in one place. And it also looks beautiful to an audience to see you expressing yourself. Some of my most favorite cellists, my most favorite musicians are those who have a lot of movement in their body, because it's kind of like dance, right? And it really helps you to feel the music. So we're going to try this together. So we're going to go across the strings, down bow, down bow, up bow, and we're syncing that with our breath, okay? So we'll start on the C string, and we're going to inhale for 4, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Inhale up, 2, 3, 4. Exhale down, 2, 3, 4. Inhale up, 2, 3, 4. Exhale down, 2, 3, 4. Inhale up, 2, 3, 4. Exhale down. 2, 3, 4. Beautiful. So I'd love to get a sense of what that feels like for you. So Heather, when you're doing this exercise, have you done anything like this before? Breathing and playing long tones? No? So how did it feel? Do you want to just unmute your microphone for a minute and we'll chat about it? So how did it feel to breathe with your bow like that?
Interesting.
Interesting.
I think part of the problem probably with a lot of people is,
yes,
especially if you're performing in a group, you get tense and you hold your breath and you
Absolutely. Yes.
So
yes, one of the biggest issues I find with cello players especially is that we hold our breath when we're playing. And what I try to do when I'm working with adult cello players is make sure that we are connecting to our breath and thinking of ourselves the way that we would if we were woodwind players or singers. So if you think of yourself like if you were a singer has to put in every single breath mark that they're going to take because they have to organize their phrases. As string players, we kind of get away with not doing that, but we really should because it helps us to really connect to the music. And it's often something we haven't done. Another thing that we kind of get, another reason we hold our breath as cellists is that because our cello sits on our chest, there's a tendency for that to kind of suppress your breathing a little bit. So you want to just be aware that you've got this cello on your chest, but you don't want to let it, my teacher used to say, don't let your cello push you around. So you're breathing and it's part of your body. Don't let it make you feel constricted like that. Yeah, nice. How did that go for you, Xanthi? Have you done anything like that before, the long bow meditation?
Yeah, I did a workshop kind of quite a while ago, which was
Yeah.
helpful. This is super helpful for me because I'm classic breath holder, and I think that's
Yes.
probably why I got injured in my wrist because I think
Ah,
I was,
yes.
I was too sort of tense, and I wasn't.
Right.
It is super helpful to be
Right.
reminded.
Yes. It's a very common issue with cello players that we get tense, especially because it's such a big instrument that feels sort of unyieldy, and we're doing a lot of very focused activities all the time. We tend to put our focus on one thing, let's say like our left hand, and then we totally forget about the rest of the body. So I find it's really important. That's why I developed the cello yoga system, because it really helps you to stay like in your body and being aware of yourself so that when you're playing you can have access to all those different abilities. Yeah, did you have a question, Xanthi?
I'm just thinking, would you always like recommend that this is how you start your practice anyway? As a
Often, yes,
yeah,
very often. Yeah, I'll start with something like this. I mean, I recommend that you start your practice in a way that makes you feel joyful and relaxed. So for some people that's, for some people that's sitting down and playing some Bach, but especially if you're coming back to the cello after a period of injury, I very much recommend that you start with something where you get in touch with all the parts of your body and make sure there's no extra tension. Because once you start working on your music, I'm sure you found this, that tension starts to creep back in. Right? So
yeah,
you want to start from a foundation of total relaxation so that you have a fighting chance of not getting super stressed and tense as you go through. I also find this really great for if you're practicing, and we all kind of experience this, you'll be practicing for a little while and something's really frustrating, right? And you're like, oh, I can't get this. This can be a really nice way to just like ground yourself and calm down so that you come back to that thing. Yeah, absolutely. So this is really good. Longbow meditation. Now this longbow meditation can be adapted in order to kind of tap into your creativity as well. So one of the things I love to do is improvise. I do a lot of improvising as a musician. I'm classically trained, but I also, when I was in university, I started working with jazz musicians. So I can also play free jazz. I write songs. I'm a songwriter. I play for yoga studios. So I do a lot of improvising. And one of the things that I discovered as an improviser are patterns that you can use and play that sound beautiful and help you to feel really musical and free. So we're going to do this next. We're going to do a pentatonic scale pattern. So a very simple scale pattern. I'm going to show it to you in 2 octaves with 2 different fingerings. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to put on a piece of music and you can explore using your breath and exploring this pattern in order to kind of play and feel nice and creative and expressive. So the pattern is a D minor pentatonic. So you guys can try this with me. So we're going to play the note D. So just open D, a long bow, relaxing everything. Then an F. So 2 fingers on your D string. G with 4. A. And D. So this is all in first position. Back to C. A. and D. Beautiful. Now we're going to do this pattern one more time, and I want you to get in touch with the breath, just like we did before. So we're inhaling and exhaling for the down bows and the up bows. So we inhale, 2, 3, 4, exhale D, 2, 3, inhale F, 2, 3, exhale G, 2, 3, 4, inhale A, 2, 3, exhale C, 2, 3, inhale D, 2, 3, allow yourself to move, C, 2, 3, 4, A. Yeah, it's like a little rocking, like you're rocking a baby. All nice and slow, nice and relaxing. F, 2, 3, and D. Beautiful. So this pattern is called the pentatonic minor, D pentatonic. If I play it a little faster, it has this kind of sound that you might recognize. The pentatonic minor is used in a ton of different music, especially folk music, kind of ancient medieval music. Lots of Eastern traditions also use this. So pentatonic just means 5 notes. What I'd like to do now is we're going to take that pattern, the D, F, G, A, C, D, and we're going to use what we call a universal fingering. So a universal fingering pattern is when you have a pattern where you don't use an open string. And so therefore, since you don't use an open string, you can take this pattern and you can start on any note and you'll create the same sound or the same pattern. So if we're playing D, F, G, A, C, D, but we want to start on something that's not an open string, we can play that D down here on the G string in your 4th position. So let's start by finding the first finger D in your 4th position. So it's on the G string. Beautiful. And then in order to play the pentatonic, we're going to play finger 4 for F. In that 4th position. D, F. That's right. You can take your time to find it. Make sure you're relaxing. As your brain gets more complex, you want to make sure you're still breathing. And then we're going to come up to first finger G. Just a little bit back on your D string with first finger. Yeah, we'll keep it close. Nice. And then we're going to go up to first finger A on the D string. Beautiful. C with 4. And then your harmonic D. So that's in the middle of your D string. Gorgeous. And then we come back. 4th finger C. If you're not quite sure what I'm doing, just see if you can try with your ear to find the notes. So C with 4, A with 1, back a little bit to G with 1, down to F with 4, and D. Beautiful. So if I just play that pattern, I'll just demonstrate how we can play that pattern one note at a time with the fingering. So it's 1, 4, 1, 1, 4, and then your harmonic. 4, 1, 1, 4, 1. So one of the ways that we can become more creative and expressive cellists is to spend less time looking at sheet music and more time playing with your cello and learning patterns without the stress notes of the music. Now, learning sheet music is beautiful. We have a lot of beautiful songs we can learn. But if you want to get really in touch with your own creativity and your musicality, it's really nice to learn patterns like this and then just explore playing these patterns with what we call backing tracks. So you can go to YouTube, and I'm going to show you one of these right now. You go to YouTube and you find a backing track, and then you just explore a pattern. So this pentatonic pattern that we just learned, the D, F, G, A, C, I'm going to put on a piece of music, and you can explore playing those notes in any order you like. Before we do that, I want to show you this pattern in the lower octave as well, in case you want to try both. So if we do the D, F pattern starting on your low D, let's find that one. So that's first finger on your C string. We have 1, D, F with 4, then we come down to G with 1, good, A with 3, C with 1, and D with 3. Back to C, A with 3, G, F, and D. Beautiful. So before I put on the track for us to improvise to, if you want to write down those notes just so that you have them to refer to, so we don't get lost. So we can just write down the notes D, F, D, F, G, A, and C. This is a D minor pentatonic. It doesn't matter where you play those notes on your cello, it's going to sound nice with this backing track. So I'm going to put on a backing track for a few minutes, 5 or 6 minutes, and what I'd like you to do is 2 things. We're going to explore playing these long, beautiful tones while keeping your chest open, keeping your body as relaxed as possible, breathing, and I want you just to listen to the sound that you're making. So we're not going to judge the sound. We're not going to say, oh, I got that out of tune, or oh, that wasn't a nice tone. I just want you to explore and have fun, okay? And then we'll kind of talk about it afterwards and see how that felt, okay? So I'm going to put on this track. What you're going to hear is a Celtic drone in D. So a beautiful drone for us to play to. Let me know if you can hear that. Thumbs up, you can hear the drone? Awesome. So you can explore your notes at any time, in any order you like. Keeping those chins up, chest open. Moving with your cello when you feel like you want to. Okay, I'd love to go on all day, but we have other things to do. So I just wanted to get a sense of how that was for you, how that felt. Let's start with Heather. How was your long tone meditation with the pentatonic?
It was interesting. I don't know if I did my breathing though.
That's okay. That's okay. It can sometimes take time and reminding yourself, right? Well, if you're not used to it, if you're not used to kind of making that an integral part of your practice, it takes time. So the more that you do this kind of thing, where you just put on a relaxing drone, play long tones, it will come. So don't worry if it's not happening yet. It will. And Xanthi, how was that for you?
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed it. It was lovely. It
Yeah.
kind of you're like lost in it, but then you kept thinking, well,
Yes.
wondering, and
That's
you were
kind of
meant
the
to.
idea, right? Yeah, we want to just kind of
Yeah,
feel, like I was talking about before, you want to feel sort of a oneness with your instrument. Because a
yeah,
lot of the time, like I was talking about, we often feel like we're battling the instrument, and that is not where we want to be, right? We want to feel like this is part of us, and a great way to start with that is just by doing something long tone and beautiful, and something just gets us connected. Yeah, really nice. So I want to go on to, so we talked about clear tone. That's how we create this by relaxing, musicality, breathing. That's all connected to your creativity. Something that a lot of us struggle with is intonation, right? Playing in tune. So finding your notes, moving around the instrument. So I'm curious about where you two are in terms of shifting. So Heather, what kinds of things have you done to help you to learn to shift around the instrument? Where are you in that process?
So I'm in just doing thumb position,
Okay.
but I have to really, my intonation is not very good. So
Okay.
um, I
Do you
need,
find in general it's not good, or in the thumb position it's not good?
um, it's just getting to know where the notes are. So
Right.
what I do, it's very repetitive over and over and over again.
Yes.
Some days are better
Yes.
than others, but I'm getting
Yeah.
there.
Right, for sure. How do you find that? So some people, like everybody's very different. Some people enjoy doing repetitive patterns, right? Where you kind of get into a zone and you practice over and over. And some people find that frustrating and boring. Where would you sit on that scale of,
Frustrating and boring.
yeah, you find it frustrating and boring. Yeah, okay. That's good to know because a lot of the things that I do are to avoid playing the up and down boring scales, right? It's great to play scales, but they can get to that point where it's like, oh, I don't want to do this work,
Like being stuck on the
right?
same pieces for like a month or two.
Yes,
It's like,
right. Oh, I know. That can be very frustrating, especially if you are, because I have noticed that a lot of classical teachers are quite perfectionist, right? I come from that background as well. Like classical music, it's like about getting everything perfect before you move on. Though
this
I find, though,
like
if you
that.
sit, yeah, if you sit with the same thing for too long, you lose your love of it. And then you don't want to do it. So this is counterproductive, right? So we
Yes.
want to get you in a headspace where you can move what I call lateral movement. So you might be playing something for a while and maybe it's not perfect, but you move on to something that's sort of at that similar level. And then what you'll find is when you come back to the music you were playing before, you have more of a love for it. I never ever recommend that students play pieces longer than they want to. And I know that that's controversial because some people will say, oh, you have to sit here and learn this and then learn the next piece. But for me, especially with adult learners, we're doing this because we love it. So there's absolutely no point in doing something that you don't love. That's
Throw
my,
in another piece of music that has the
exactly.
same issues
Yes.
that's more interesting or fun, you know?
Yes, or get it in. So, like, some of my students have pieces in rotation. So you'll have like 5 or 6, or maybe even up to 10 things that you're working on, and adding the improvisation to it. Because the improvisation and creativity is yours. That's something that you can own. It's your own music, and you don't have to be beholden to what's on a page. So that's a really nice way as well. And I have found through my own improvisation that it makes me a better, like when I go back to the sheet music, I am a better player because I'm feeling more confident about myself and my playing, and I see lots of different things in that process. Yeah, Xanthi, how was that for you?
Are you asking about the shifting?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Shifting.
I do use a drone, and I
Okay.
do try and just spend well scales with a drone. But then sometimes I'll take like a section of what I'm working on, and then just
Yes.
try and practice that intonation. I'm quite good at doing the same piece forever.
Good. So
I just
you don't mind that repetition.
well,
Yeah,
like
everybody's
it
very
because
different. Yeah.
here is that I'm this part, isn't there? So you're just kind of you're thinking about the intonation, thinking about how relaxed you are, thinking about breathing, you're thinking about trying to do some
Yes.
vibrato. We're trying to think about smooth string crossings.
Yes.
It's just so much, and I just yeah.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
down like really slowly, and also
Mm-hmm.
because I've been injured, so I'm just
Right.
trying to take it into tiny blocks. That
Exactly. So that's a process that I call. So when you sort of touch on something that's really important in cello practice is that a lot of us sit down to do our practice and we think, okay, this has got to be in tune. I've got to have good sound. I've got to be playing it at the right speed. I want to have the tone that I want to have. And our brains are full of all of these different layers of the cake. And what happens is that none of those layers actually end up working the way we want them to because we're trying to do all the things at the same time. So, what I like to do and what I recommend to my adult students, and again, this is part of the cello yoga process, is separating those factors. And it's like building a cake, right? The first a layer of your cake is your tone and your sound. The second layer is the rhythm. So, whatever you're working on, you want to get really comfortable with the rhythm, right? The third layer is the fingering, what are you using, the tuning, and making sure that one layer is solid before you put the other layer on top. And in that way, you get more organized and you're able to make faster progress. And your brain becomes more organized because you're not trying to do it all at once, right? It's a myth that we can multitask. Multitasking is something that the brain actually doesn't do very well. If you're trying to do two things at one time, one of those things is going to get lost, right? So we have to make some of these things automatic before we can put things on top. Yeah, and in a moment, we're going to get to some shifting exercises. I'm going to show you sort of some creative ways so that we don't get bored doing this stuff. Because it's interesting, right, Heather? You find this stuff a little bit boring. Xanthi, you like the repetition. And it can be nice to have different options for how to practice your technique without getting that sense of like, oh, this is so dull and repetitive. Yeah. Oh, and we have another Heather. I thought it was the same Heather. Hi, Heather.
Hi.
Second Heather. Hi, nice to meet you.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Good, thank you.
Where are you joining us from?
Nanaimo, BC.
Oh, I love it. That's great. How's the weather? Is it winter there yet? Almost?
It's pretty cold, 4
Getting
degrees
there.
this morning.
Oh, yeah. About the same here. I'm in Ottawa. And it's getting a little gray and cold. Yeah. So were you here for the last activity where we did the drones? You were? Okay. Okay, excellent. I wasn't sure because your camera was off. And Julia. Hi, Julia. How's it going? Do you have your cello? Excellent. Did you try the last exercise with us? Were you doing the pentatonics?
No, I was not, because
Okay.
I was trying to email you this, but
Yes.
I was just at church, so
Oh, okay,
I
yeah,
couldn't
yeah.
get.
You had said that's totally fine. So you can just observe, and if you have your cello, that's great. If not, you can just watch. So the next thing I'd like to do, what we're going to do is we're going to kind of take this concept of improvising, and we're going to try some shifting. Some fun shifting exercises that we can do, and the emphasis is on fun. This is not supposed to be hard, it's going to be fun. So what I'd like you all to do is get your cellos, and we're going to do what I call sticky slides. So one of the things I find as cellists, as we kind of move through cello repertoire, learning pieces, we get really comfortable in the lower positions, right? And then we kind of get up higher on the cello, and it can sometimes feel like, oh my gosh, I don't even know how to play this instrument. And so one of the things that I try to get my students to kind of think of it, the cello, thinking of playing up high on the cello in the same way that you do in the lower positions, so that we don't have that mental barrier where you're like, oh, this is so high and hard. So one of the ways that we can do that is by making sure in every practice that we are playing high and low on the cello. And one of the best ways to get kind of comfortable with that is by sliding up and down the strings in different at different speeds. So I'm going to show you what I mean. So if let's say I'm on the A string and I'm playing the note C sharp, in my first position. I'm going to slide all the way up with my third finger, all the way up to the top of the fingerboard. So now I'm really high on the cello. And then I'm just going to let myself come off the fingerboard. So this is called a ski jump. So this is how it sounds. And off the top. And what you'll notice is as I'm going up the fingerboard, I'm going through every position, but in a very relaxed and controlled way. So you can see that my left arm, I'm starting in the first position. As I come up and around, my arm comes up, my thumb comes onto the fingerboard in thumb position, and then we keep sliding and then off the fingerboard. And again, if you can connect this to your breath, it's really great. So what we do is we inhale, and then we exhale, and then off the top of the fingerboard. Yeah, just like that. And Heather, if I can just get you to mute your microphone for this so we can all do this together. Not Heather Rowe, other Heather. We have two Heathers. It's confusing. Yeah, so we inhale. So let's try this. We have 3 fingers on the A string. Take a nice deep breath. And then slide with your 3 fingers and off the top. Beautiful. And when you're doing that, make sure that your shoulders stay nice and low. There's no tension in your neck. Keep the chin up. And then let it go and open the chest. Let's try that a few times on the A string. Deep breath in through your nose. And exhale, slide. Beautiful. So that should feel easy. That should feel fun. But what's really great about this is while you're doing this, you're actually practicing the art of moving up into those higher positions without any fear, right? Because we're not worried about what note we're going to. We're just doing this movement, and you're getting a really good sense of what it feels like to go up to the top of the cello, because we want to have a good sense of how our body feels when we do this. Now, the next part of this exercise is to go up and then to come back down. And I want you to notice, if you can see me, my left shoulder. What's happening here? It's essentially a front crawl and it's a back crawl. So it's front crawl and back crawl. That's what you're going to feel. And the back crawl is key, because I notice that a lot of people will come up, and then when they come down, the shoulder stays high. You need to drop everything, right? If you need to turn your body a little bit in order to drop, then that's what we need to do. Up and down, this beautiful motion. Notice how your fingers, I like to use 3 fingers, because with 3 fingers, you can keep them really connected to the fingerboard. It's almost like you're hooking them in between the A and the D string. So that's the motion, is sliding up and down the cello. Whenever we go up and down the cello, shifting, it's always a sliding motion in your hand. We're never jumping. I see a lot of people jump and lose contact. We never lose contact. We are always sliding. So let's try this. We're going to go from C sharp all the way up to the top of your finger. It's going to sound pretty funny. Go all the way up and all the way back like this. You're relaxing, you're breathing, make sure your body's full of air. Beautiful. And you'll notice the shape of my fingers. You see the 3 fingers? They stay contacted on the string the whole time. All 3 fingers are contacting on the string. We're not losing any of them. Up and down. You will notice as you go up the fingerboard that it becomes, you need more weight to get the fingers all the way down to the fingerboard. There's more tension the higher that you go on the string. That's just a normal part of playing cello. The good news is, however, once you get to about just past your harmonic, you don't have to press those fingers all the way down to the fingerboard. You can actually have them a little bit lighter. So a lot of people feel like part of the tension of playing up high is that you think you have to have all this pressure, and you don't. If you're really high on the cello, you can play a note without pressing really hard. And you want to sort of see where, if you can find that spot where there's enough tension to get the note to sound, but you're not squeezing. We want no sense of squeezing up high whatsoever. If you find that it really feels hard to get that note down, that's usually a sign that you want to take your cello to a luthier, because the action is probably too high. Or you might want to change the tension of your strings. There are soft, medium, and heavy strings. And if you have heavy strings on your cello, it's going to be hard to press down. So you can change to a lighter gauge. That will help. So let's try that same thing. We're going to try now on the D string. So same thing, 3 fingers, and we're going to slide all the way up and all the way down. Breathing in, exhale, and back. Relaxing your body, letting yourself move with your bow. Nice, up and down. Beautiful. The G string, as we go across, these strings get heavier. We need a little more weight. We get that from sitting up tall, bringing the weight of our arm into the string. Let's try the G string. 3 fingers, sliding up and sliding down. Sliding up and sliding down. Beautiful. Noticing when you need to bring your thumb up. Nice. And then the C string. This might feel the heaviest. It's a very thick string. Luckily, we don't often have to play high on the C string, but it's a nice little strength exercise for your fingers to go up high on the C string. So again, we're going to breathe in, keep those chins up. It's really tempting to do this, but try to do this instead. Open your body like you have wings. Very nice. You'll notice when I'm playing that generally, if I'm doing a down bow, I'm moving to the right. And if I'm doing an up bow, I'm moving to the left. We also want to be able to do the opposite of that. That's the most intuitive action, is to, as we say, move with the bow. You can also do the opposite. And one of the things that's going to help you with your creativity or your musicality as a musician is being able to connect to all the kinds of movements. So we did like a, move with the bow this way. You want to try the other way as well. So for example, if we take our shift that we just did, let's do it on the D string, because it's the easiest. And instead of moving with the bow, you're gonna move away from the bow. So your body's gonna be going left while your bow goes right, like this. And this might feel really weird if you've never done it before. About how these slides feel for you. Heather Rowe, let's start with you.
What was that, sorry?
How did this feel for you?
More relaxing, actually, than...
Yes, good. Yeah, it is quite relaxing. I like it as a way to get out of that mental headspace of like, oh, playing up high on the cello is hard. Because as soon as we get in that mental headspace, it's very hard to play with beautiful sound, because we're already kind of putting a mental block between us and the sound. So I like this because it gets us playing high and it's relaxing, which is what we want, right? Xanthi, how did that feel for you?
Yeah, really good. I haven't done that before. And it's kind of interesting that you have to really get more into your body to think about like the weight increasing as you get down the string.
Yes.
So that was
Yeah, if there's one thing that I can impart to you today is that we want to be in our bodies as much as possible when we're musicians. There's this tendency to be in our heads a lot because of the fact that the music that we might be playing is cerebral, it's written on a page, we're engaging our visual sense, and all of that creates this kind of headiness to the process, which is against what we actually need to do as musicians. Because as musicians, we have to be moving our body and we have to be hearing. So if you can get in touch with the senses of feeling and hearing and less visual, that automatically will make you a better musician. When I was younger in university, I used to spend a lot of time practicing with the lights off. So I'd go into our practice room and just switch the lights off. Because when you do that, when you deprive yourself of sight, you can actually connect to what you're feeling and how you're sounding. And you'd be amazed just to do a little experiment, see how that is. It's a really profound, I found it a very profound experience. And Heather, how did you find those slides? Have you done sliding like that up and down before?
No, I haven't, but my teacher has been trying to get me to shift by moving my elbow.
Yes.
And so this is really, I feel, more like I have a better sense of.
Yes, well, because it's a continuous motion, right? Shifting is a continuous motion up and down the cello, and it's really, like I was saying, like a front crawl, back crawl motion. It's not a let's jump to second position, let's jump to fourth, let's jump to fifth, which is how we kind of sometimes will approach it, right? So in order to kind of get from this like continuous motion to getting more specific, all you need to learn to do is to stop your slide at a certain point. Right? That's sort of the next step in that process is, okay, now I'm sliding, but now I'm going to stop here.
It's a very good image, front crawl and back crawl.
Yes, I really like it. It helps me to relax my shoulder because it's sort of when we come back, we often don't. Yeah. So what I'd like to do, because we've been here for an hour, I want to take a little break, and then we'll take like a 5-minute break. We'll come back and we're going to do a few more things where we work with some patterns and getting more into our creativity. So let's just take a break and we'll be back in 5, okay? I'll just give everybody a moment. Heather, I'm curious about your experience with improvisation. Have you done any of that type of work before?
No.
So this is new for you. Nice.
I can't play by ear.
Yeah. Yes.
So I haven't even tried that.
So that's something we're going to get into now, is playing by ear and getting into that process. I found that when people have a classical background, and this was true for me, when we start from a reading background, reading music and playing it, it can often kind of give us the impression that playing by ear is this really difficult thing to do. And in reality, it's actually kind of the opposite. It's something that you can get used to and get much better at really quickly, as long as you have the right sort of toolbox for it, or the right set of tools. So the next thing I want to do is get into that idea of playing by ear, because if you can start to play by ear and get in touch with what we call audiation. So audiation is essentially your inner ear, and it's the process of hearing music as you're playing it or just before you play it. So professional musicians and the best musicians in the world have a really strong sense of audiation. It's essentially like your inner music voice, you might want to call it. Like we're talking to ourselves with music. And the way that we develop this, it's a very important tool to develop, even if you're mostly reading sheet music, because you want to be able to look at a piece of music and kind of hear it in your head. You don't have to hear every note, but you want to be able to feel and hear the rhythm, and then maybe hear some of the notes, and that already gives you kind of a head start. So the process of doing that starts with learning to play by ear. So what I'd like to do is we're just going to do a little pattern. I'm going to play it, and I'd like you all to try and play it on your cellos. I will play it 3 times. It's just 5 notes, and I want you to see if you can find these notes, okay, on your cello. I just want to make sure everybody's muted for this process so we don't have like a cacophony of sound. So just check that your microphone is muted. Okay, and I'm just going to ask you not to look at my fingers because we don't want to cheat. So you can just look away, and I'm going to play these notes. Here they are. Play them again. So the first step is to try and sing or hum these notes to yourself like this. La, have a good singing voice at all. I'll give you the starting note. The starting note is open D. Okay, so see if you can play these notes. I'll keep playing them. See if you can catch them with me. One more time. Beautiful. If you feel like you have them, put up your hand. Who thinks you got them? Xanthi, can you tell us what the notes are that you figured out?
I think they're
Yeah. Okay.
D E flat,
Yes, D, E
G
flat.
G G A B flat.
B flat, very good. Yes, so let's try that together. Don't worry if you didn't quite get it. The process of learning by ear is a process of it's like learning language, like how a baby learns language. You say mama to it 1,000 times, and then eventually it's going to say mama back to you. Right? And that's how learning by ear works. It can be a very slow practice, but it's really worth doing it. Just learning little bits of things because you also get really good really fast. It doesn't take long for you to start catching on. So if we play those notes together, it's D, E flat, so at the top of your D string, G, that wouldn't be wrong. You could play A there as well. I just happen to go up my D string, but you can also play A and B flat there, right? But we did it with a little shift, and the reason I did it with a little shift is because this is what's called the Hirazoshi scale. It's a Japanese pentatonic scale, which is a really cool scale that we can use to play along to certain types of Japanese music. So pentatonic scales, there's many different kinds. And if you go up the string like this, you can add a little bit of a slide, which is very in the style. Because Japanese and Asian music in general has a lot of sliding in it. So if you play this scale, you can slide from the G to the A. And you get this very beautiful sound. So let's try speeding up the scale a little bit so we can give it a little bit of the flavor that you would hear it in Japanese music. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a slur to play all the notes going up and a slur to play the notes going down like this. And yes, Cynthia, I can spell that. It is spelled Hirajoshi. Hira Joshi. And I'm sure I'm not pronouncing that correctly. But yes, if you go on YouTube and look up Hirajoshi scale, you'll find it. It's a 5-note Japanese pentatonic. As you can imagine, there are as many different pentatonics as there are like stars in the sky, right? Patterns in music, there's so many. We have 12 notes, but in many traditions, they have notes in between the 12 notes. So if you do like Indian classical music, they have 24 notes because they notate the quarter tones in between our half steps. In Japanese music, it's a little bit of a different system, and we can use our notation system. So what I'm going to do, what I want to do with this pattern is the same as we did before. I'm going to put on a little piece of music and I want you to explore this pattern. And this time, so before we did long tones, kind of meditative long tones. And what you can do with this piece of music, if you like, is play those long tones. But I also want to encourage you to start speeding up your pattern a little bit. So with the Hirajoshi scale, if you want, you can play it quickly, right? So I want you to explore different speeds and different moods. So you're going to hear this backing track. What you'll hear at the beginning is about 30 seconds of a little introduction where you're going to get kind of introduced to the sound and style. And then you'll see the notes will show up on the screen. They're a keyboard, so it shows you the notes. And then you're free to explore however you wish. And I hope you really like this. It's a really cool style. I really like the sound of this music, so I hope you will like it as well. So I'm going to turn that on. And share this one. And here we go. Oops, 1 second. Go. So you can hear those notes. Ching. Okay, so that's a beautiful scale. Heather, how did you find the process of improvising with the Hirazoshi scale?
Fun, because you're trying to find, maybe do a little tune in your head and figure out, well, which note should I end on? I tended to gravitate to one particular note.
Yeah.
Sounded to me.
In that pattern. Yeah, so that's the process of ideation and creativity, is just, thinking about what note do I want to play, experimenting with notes. So this process of improvising, just using like a small set of notes, can be really illuminating for your own practice on the cello. Because what you're going to find, like, I really enjoy this process. I sort of sit between Heather and Xanthi, and like, I like to do really creative stuff and just kind of out there, and then I also like to do drills. But I find that improvising is a really nice bridge between your technical exercises that we need to do to kind of get better and patterns, pattern learning and creativity. Because really, the creative aspect is just patterns. And if you can learn a pattern and find a really nice way to practice it that's not grueling, then you can get so much better. I found, like, once I started improvising, my technique just exploded. I had spent years practicing classical scales and arpeggios and all that stuff, and kind of having that mindset like, oh, I don't want to do this stuff. Right? But then when I started doing patterns with bands and backing tracks, it suddenly became this creative process. So then you kind of learn by osmosis, which is a much nicer way to learn. So yeah, I'm glad that you were enjoying that. Xanthi, how was that for you? Did you enjoy that scale?
Yeah, it's beautiful. Sounds like film music.
Yeah,
I like the semitones are kind of on the minor third from the G to the B flat.
Right. Yeah.
That's moody.
It has that kind of haunting sound to it, right? Yeah. And there's so many different options for pentatonic patterns that just have a really nice sound to them. What I also love about pentatonics, because there's so many patterns, right? Half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, whole step, all the different patterns. They're really great too for if you learn a pattern, in the lower part of your cello, and then you can take that pattern and translate it into other areas of your cello. So Heather, when you were talking about, learning the thumb position, if you took this pattern where you're playing the D, this harmonic here, and you play the E flat, the G, the A, B flat, right? You can find these I encourage you guys to take patterns and translate them around your instrument. That's a really great way to learn your fingerboard geography. A lot of people struggle with fingerboard geography, right? Like, where are my notes? So if you take notes in a lower octave and you translate them into higher octaves, this is a really great way to get yourself understanding exactly where everything is on your cello without kind of that rigorous, like, up and down the scale kind of thing. Yeah. And other Heather. I love that we have two Heathers. How was that for you?
It was very interesting. I like the sound of those 5 notes. I'm wondering how do you access those YouTube drone?
So if you go to YouTube and you just search, you can search for this one. It was the Hirazoshi scale. So you would look up that specifically. What I'll do after this workshop, I'll send you some links to some tracks that I use in my cello yoga classes in order for you to kind of access some of those, because there's so many. There's so many that you can use. YouTube is full of backing tracks like this.
And that's what they're called, is backing tracks?
Backing tracks, yes. A lot of them are backing tracks, and you can get backing tracks in all kinds of styles, at all levels of playing. Like today we started with a drone. Drones I love because you have the freedom to put all kinds of patterns on top of drones, right? You're in one key. Other backing tracks will have chord progressions, where you learn certain chords and then you put them on top of the backing tracks. And they're all different styles, right? So if you like to play the blues, you can learn to play the blues. If you like to play, you know, classical music, you can do a classical chord progression. It's a big part of what we do in my cello yoga classes. It's that every class we spend a good chunk of time going through different styles and learning to play chords and patterns on top of these backing tracks. Because in my opinion, this is the best way to learn cello technique. It's much better than just going up and down and drilling your scales, because it gives you like a musical context for what you're doing. Because a lot of what we play in music is patterns. It's scales, it's arpeggios, it's chords, right? But we don't often recognize that. And if you can recognize with a backing track that that's what you're doing, all of a sudden your technique and your musicality are basically the same thing, right? So you're not separating those two things in your mind. But yeah, I'll send you a little list of things that you can do. So what I wanted to do now, the last thing I just wanted to touch on is the idea of chords and patterns, that it's really great as a cellist to kind of get comfortable playing certain patterns. So we had touched a little bit on what a universal fingering is. So a universal fingering pattern is a pattern that you can translate into all the keys. So I don't know how familiar all of you are with the circle of fifths or music theory and keys. But our basic Western music theory is based on 12 keys. And you can look up, I recommend everybody print out a circle of fifths so that you have it for your practice. And I recommend that you learn patterns in all 12 keys. And I say patterns because when I say scales, people are like, ugh, scales, right? It doesn't have to be a scale. It can be, but it can be any pattern in a key. That's what gets your technique really working for you. So one simple pattern I just want to show you is a major chord pattern. And what we're going to do is we're going to translate this major chord pattern to every key. So the pattern, if we start in the key of C, we're going to put our first finger on C on your G string. So let's find that note C. Beautiful. Good. And Heather, I'm just going to get you to mute your microphone while we do this. So I know there's a lot of unmuting in my sessions. So this is a C. If we want to play a major chord pattern, all we have to do is play finger 4. We extend to E. And then we come across the string to G. So that's a major chord. C, E, G, E, C. Some of you might recognize it by its more common name, the arpeggio. Arpeggios is the same as chord. Arpeggio means broken chord in Italian. So that pattern, we have 1, 4, 1, 4, 1. Interestingly, you can also play that pattern 4, 1, 4, 1, 4. So if we play C with 4 and E with 1, G is 4. Right? So you have two ways to play a major chord pattern. 1, 4, 1 or 4, 1, 4. Either of those fingerings will work for a major chord pattern. Let's stick with 4, 1, 4 for now. And what we're going to do, or attempt to do, is to play a chord in every key. And you can use your ear to help you. I'll give you kind of the starting spot for it. So the C, E, G, which we already played. E, G, E, C. Now we're going to go to G major. So we have to put our fourth finger on G. So I'll give you a second to find that. I'm going to find fourth finger G. Got it? Then we play again 4, 1, 4. Beautiful. Now we're going to go across the string and put 4 fingers on D. This note here, 4 fingers D. And same pattern. D, 4, 1, 4, 1, 4. Beautiful. Then we're going to go to the key of A. So we're going to put 4 fingers on A. That's on your C string or on your D string. Either of those works. I'm going to do it down low. We have 4, 1, 4, 1, first, you get better at it. And then E. So we're going to find E with our fourth finger. E. You can also play that an octave higher, right? You can do this E, G sharp. Nice. 4, 1, 4, 1, 4. Always the same, always an extension. The next key is B. So we find B with our fourth finger. I play this in the half position. You could also play it on your D string. Wherever you can find a B, put your fourth finger on it. B, 4, 1, 4, 1, 4. Beautiful. Then we want F sharp. So I'm gonna do this on the C string. 4, 1, 4, 1, 4. That's F sharp. So those are all the sharp keys. We went through C, G, D, A, E, B, F sharp. If you have a circle of fifths, that gets you all the way down to the bottom of the circle of fifths. So we've done 6 keys. You can do the rest, but for time's sake, we won't do those today. But what I recommend is if you're practicing and you want something that's technical, but not like really hard like scales, this is a really great way, again, for learning your fingerboard geography, for helping your ear, because you're using your ear to help you tune, and you're also learning patterns in all 12 keys, which is a super important skill as a musician, especially when you're looking at sheet music that might be in all different keys. We tend to, as string players, we tend to be comfortable with the early keys, right? We tend to be comfortable with C major and G major and D major, but we're usually not as comfortable with the keys down at the bottom of the circle of fifths because we don't see them as often. But in your practice, you should be doing something where you're getting all around your instrument and playing in all those keys. And there's lots of other patterns you can learn as well in 12 keys, but that's a good place to start, is the major pattern. So that's basically all of the things that I wanted to share with you, but I want to open up the class for a little bit of Q&A. So if you have any questions about what we're doing, if you have any questions about me, if you have any questions about my program, I'd love to hear them. So Heather, is there anything that we learned today? First of all, let's talk about what did you gain today out of this session that you didn't know before?
Well, maybe not be afraid to just improvise. I really like the circle of fifths, finding the patterns.
Yes, that's
I'm really going to work on that to help with the geography a bit better. Because I totally rely on reading music. I'm very good at reading music.
Yeah, and you're not alone. You're not alone at all. Many that's where I sort of came from. That was my background, classical music, and then learning to improvise. It's a whole different way of thinking. And I think of it, the best analogy is it's like learning a language, but without writing down anything. Just listening to people talk, and then trying to say it yourself.
Having printed music's like a safety net.
It is, yeah, and it can also be a crutch as well, because when we have that visual safety net, we tend to, in our brains, literally turn off our hearing. Because your visual cortex is like, the science of it is your visual cortex is engaged, so the auditory cortex is not as engaged. So it's very important as a musician to spend time listening and feeling, like I said. Listening and feeling are primary. And the more you can do that, even when you are reading music, I encourage people to read a little bit of music, turn it over, see if you can play it without the music. It doesn't have to be a whole piece, but just a bar, right? That gets you thinking in the right way for playing music. Yeah, so I'm glad that, and is there anything that you would want to learn that you, so like what's the next step for you? So you want to do a little bit of improvising and learning by ear. What else might you like to do with your cello playing?
Well, my husband's quite an advanced guitarist, and he's the opposite. Nice. He plays by ear, doesn't read music very well, but he can play by ear like crazy. I'm so jealous of that. I'd like to be able to play more with him.
Yeah, I'd love. Yeah, that would be an amazing thing to do. Yeah,
he's just
absolutely.
Retired, and it's like that's what he's kind of into right now.
Yeah, some of the cellists that are in my cello yoga program are playing with their spouses, and it's really cool because they said the same thing, that they wanted to get off the page, and because they have one spouse that'll play guitar or piano as an improviser, and they don't do that, and being able to kind of come together and do that is just a really nice thing to do. Yeah, nice. Xanthi, how about you? What did you learn today that you didn't know before, and where do you want to go from here?
Well, first of all, thank you so much. I found it really,
you're welcome.
really rich, loads of ideas. And particularly I like the playing by ear. I think
yes,
like Heather said, I'd like to just be able to kind of be more confident with playing along. Just going along to a jam.
Absolutely.
Basically.
Yes,
and I still feel like I don't think my ear's bad, and also like at the moment I'm just battling with technique all the time, like trying to improve my vibrato, trying to string crossing. So that was really refreshing that you took it into a more improvisational, fun.
Because all of those things, all of those technical things that you want to do can be accomplished within a musical and improvisation setting. They don't have to be this like beating your head against the wall type of thing, right? You can add them in.
That's helpful.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And I want to say, like, everybody here who has come today, I really appreciate you being here. I love working with adult cellists. And if you want to continue to work with me or want to get an idea of what it's like to work with me, if you want to learn more about my program, I encourage you all get a free session with me, a free cello strategy session for coming today as a thank you. So if you want to book a time with me, we can talk more about what you're doing with your cello. If you go to my website at cellogo.com, if you want to write that down, cellogo.com, you can book a session with me and we can talk more about what the next steps are for you, because I have a few different programs for adult cellists and I would love to work with you guys more if that's something that you want to do. Let's go to other Heather. Heather, what did you gain today from today's session? What might you like to do in the future?
I found it really interesting to do the playing by ear and to do the improvising with the background music.
Yes, it's really nice, isn't it?
It is. It's lovely, and I kind of feel more less constrained.
Yes.
Like I've always done stuff on sheet music, and I've always done the straightforward things. I've not branched out at all. So this has really, been quite interesting. And I've never been able to play things by ear, but I found today that I recognize the notes.
Wonderful.
More than I thought I could.
Yeah, wonderful. Usually that comes out of, that sense of like, oh, I can't play by ear. It's usually because we're trying to do too much. Just like everything in life, when we were talking about multitasking, Xanthi, right? We're trying to do too many things. And if you can just take very small little things, it's like if you're learning, again, back to that analogy of learning a language, you don't learn to put full sentences and phrases together. The first thing you learn is like how to say hello and goodbye, and then short little phrases after that, right? And it's exactly the same with music. You can all learn by ear. It's just a matter of, being patient with yourself, listening to a little bit of music and seeing if you can repeat it. Not trying to put a whole piece on and trying to play that by ear, right? You can take a recording. If you are trying to learn cello music by ear, my number one piece of advice is to find recordings of things that are quite slow and where the cello is really prominent. Because it can be very confusing to try and pick out something by ear, first of all, that's not played on a cello or that's played with a bunch of other instruments. That's not where you should start. If you're trying to play by ear, pick something that's for cello and that's easy to play, because then your ear is going to be able to pick it up. So that would be my first piece of advice. And I do recommend everybody here start playing by ear. Do more of that, because it's going to be your key to feeling like more of a expressive musician, for sure. All the world's top musicians are improvisers. Yo-Yo Ma, the best cellist in the world, he has branched out into improvisation and does some beautiful music. I'll actually share, there's a beautiful track that I love that he did with Rhiannon Giddens, who's an Appalachian minstrel player. And they made a beautiful recording during the pandemic that I'll send to you guys using the pentatonic scale that we played today. So you'll discover how you can, play along with that. So does anyone have any other questions for me regarding what we did today or anything about me or my program, Heather?
I'm wondering, when you say there's lots of pentatonic scales, so
yes,
can a pentatonic scale start on any note?
Yes, that's exactly it. Pentatonic just means 5 notes, right? That's all it means. Penta is 5. So a pentatonic scale is just a 5-note scale. If you're used to classical music, we do a lot of 8-note scales, right? That's very part of the tradition. But a pentatonic is more simple and is used in a lot of folk music and folk traditions. But yes, that's all that it means. So you can make up your own patterns, right? You can make up a 5-note pattern and then see if you could start it on different notes. That's a great way to improve your ear. Yeah. Any other questions or thoughts?
This has been great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Yeah. Well, Heather, thank you.
Thank you so much for putting this together.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, absolutely. I will send a recording of this to everybody as well, so if you want to go back through the material. And I hope that I get to talk to some of you and we can have a little strategy session about what you want to do next. Because I do a lot of this stuff working with classical players specifically who want to improve their creativity and get more into that world of audiating and hearing and feeling. And I feel like that is the best path for a lot of adults. It's just more fun. It's so much more fun than just like, oh, let's play our scales and arpeggios, which you can do as well, of course. But yeah, I would love to talk to some of you, and thank you so much for being here today. And take care.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, bye,
Thank you.
everyone.
Yeah, bye.